everybody. Just wanted to do a little tech check in there because I sometimes, depending upon the weather, have shoddy internet. Anyway, welcome back to Mastering the Drop, a real view of recovery. And Melissa is not a stranger to any of you that have been following along. And this is an important day for us to have Melissa here because, you know, today we're going to be tackling the truth about binge drinking. Because honestly, I can tell you that with everybody that I speak to, all the different groups that I belong to that are addiction in nature, primarily, you know, drinking, you know, there's a lot of people talking about ending up in the ER and getting stabilization and, you know, just really, you know, looking for that what's next. But what they're not taking into consideration are the questions that I'm not hearing being asked, which is why I added this topic in today, is, you know, what am I really doing to myself and to my body, and what are really the dangers and the risks of binge drinking? I hear all the time, hey, I don't drink every day. You know, Monday through Friday, I don't drink at all. And, you know, 2-3 times a month, yeah, I go out and I rip it up, you know, and that consideration for what we're truly doing to our body has got to be, you know, just understood. And so even if we're not looking for a sober lifestyle, you know, being at least mindful of some level of sober conscious, right? Conscious being the prevalent word, because we've all been out and we've all seen that person. And of course, you know, maybe some of us have been that person that, you know, overdoes it, binges, and is, you know, existing in space in a state of blackout. You know, there's always those constant stories of the people ending up outside of the bar, sitting on the curb, vomiting, and, you know, just really passing out in really dangerous situations. You know, if we look at even date rape and some of these other things, that these tragedies that happen generally are happening in a period of binge drinking. And so, you know, I think it's crucial that we look at all of these risks that you know we're subjecting ourselves to. So, you know, we have, you know, liver disease, right? Inflammation, the cardiovascular system, high blood pressure, things like that. But we also have this effect on, let's say, our body reflexes, right? So breathing, gag reflex, right? Like, how many people have you heard of drowning in their own vomit due to a drinking binge? Like, maybe it's not something you hear about, but I would venture to say that you could probably find a lot of stories that support that. And, you know, our coordination, we all know, because either we've been it or we've witnessed the person falling down. They get up from the table and they're tripping and falling on their way to the bathroom and they're trying to laugh it off, or, you know, just all of these things. And so, yeah, sure, some of this inflammation, some of these situations, like inflammation of the organs that we may be causing, sure, they may be acute, you know, or brief, or, you know, time limited if we put enough time between them. However, that acute state could be very dangerous. You know, we're coming up on a lot of milestones here. You know, restrictions are being lifted. And I've been talking about this for over a year, because when we went into the pandemic, the daily drinking habits, you know, really increased. And I was warning back then, like, hey, this daily drinking habit is rapidly going to turn into an addictive behavior, if not a physiological addiction, when it comes time to go back out into the world. And so we're all getting released into a season filled with holiday, travel, and vacation. And so what I'm hearing now, a lot of, And I've had several appointments this week of people that are reaching out that want change, yet they have all the reasons why not now, or they have their win trap, right? When the kids go back to school, when I'm back from vacation, when all the things of why they're not ready to even step into a place of sober consciousness, right? So I'm not even saying don't drink. I'm saying, or, whatever your thing is, right? Because for some of my clients, it's overindulgence in food. So I'm not even saying, don't do those things, but do it with a state of consciousness and a wherewithal. But so this is the season that these things are coming out in, and I just have witnessed, two of the people that I met with this week, I followed up with them a couple days later because they're like, yeah, send me the link, I'm signing up, yada. And then a couple days later, still, nothing. So I'm like, wellness check, right? Like, hey, how are you doing? And they had gone for their last hurrah bender and ended up in the ER, and they're just in a completely different state now. And now we're looking at a severity level that is higher than either A, disclosed, or B, that they've imposed upon themselves. And now we're having to do things like stabilization, detoxification meds, upping the sodium levels and the ability to maintain potassium and all the things, right? You're just nodding your head over there. So give us all of your infinite wisdom.
Excuse me. Okay. So thank you, Tricia, for having me again. I love being on Mastering the Drop and sharing my wisdom and answering questions that come in the chat. So let me know your questions, how I can help out. Of course, I love to give you some statistics. So I want to give you a few that should scare you. They should scare you. 1 out of every 6 US adults binge drinks 4 times a month, consuming on average 7 drinks. That results in 17 billion total drinks consumed by adults annually. Do you want to know that averages out to 467 drinks per binge drinker?
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, right? When you really think about that and you're like 460, wow, that to me is a ton.
And our bodies just aren't even set up 7 drinks, right? That our bodies aren't even designed to, and believe me, guys, I'm right with you. I've had my fair share of days where I've had more than 7 beers. But when we look at that, like what is the average body set up to even tolerate in any given 24-hour period?
On average, a woman should have no more than 1 drink, which is 1 shot, which is 30 cc's, 4 ounces of wine, or 1 12-ounce beer. Not the big old mortar shells, but 1 12-ounce.
Oh, you mean you can't call the tall boy 1?
No.
Come on.
And men typically, because of their body weight is bigger, can typically handle 2 of those a day. That's a day. That to me, I mean, that's staggering. The other thing is that we may think as binge drinking is common about lower income levels, but that's actually not true. It's actually highest among those that make more than $75,000 in a year. So it's these executives, it's these people who they're making good money, and they think, oh, I'm on vacation. So guess what? I'm going to have and sit down and I'm going to start drinking at breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever. They start and then they don't stop. And well, I'm on vacation tomorrow, so let me do it again. If you survive day one, depending upon if you survive, because I've seen a couple of people come into the hospital where I used to work, that they went through, just like you had clients you were talking about, they're now in a hospital. Went out, had a good time, celebration, good old party, and then they end up in the hospital. You know, that big celebration of 21 years old. Bam. First time drinking, binged, and end up in the hospital, end up in a coma.
The alcohol poisoning.
Alcohol poisoning. And alcohol poisoning is about 22 to 2,500 per year that die of alcohol poisoning. Now, alcohol poisoning, sometimes you don't die, but that's death. Those are.
But there are the possibilities.
The possibility, you have the possibility of destroying your body, destroying your kidneys, destroying your liver, coming up with a disease, like you mentioned earlier, high blood pressure, liver disease, heart disease. Guess what? Cancer is also on that list. Cancer of the mouth, the throat, the esophagus, the liver, the colon, all of these things that are digesting that alcohol or trying to digest, because it's actually eating away your insides. So it's not good. And you might get lucky. You might get lucky and be fine, not have any vomiting, not have any aspiration. So many people choke on their own vomit and they die. And that's not good. We don't want that for you. We want you to be able to be responsible, change your mindset, and realize that you don't need to binge drink. What are you actually gaining from it?
Right. So, and I love that you brought that up, because I wanted to, this information is so beneficial. I did not even want to break in, but coming from the mindset of the people that I work with, right, and know, and the community. So for those of you who maybe aren't quite engaged in a recovery process yet, just because, so Dr. Melissa has told you what the body can tolerate, 1 per day for women, 2 for men, doesn't mean that you get to, accumulate them like bonus points and have them all at the same time on the same day in the same outing and say, I didn't drink all week, so I'm going to have them all right here, right now. That is just nothing more than binge drinking. And so does not make that any safer for you. Sure, for the person that drinks every day, maybe a glass of wine every day and still goes out and binges, sure, they're putting themselves at a higher risk, because absolutely daily drinking does pose all of these risks that we're talking about, and they can take quite a bit of time to recover from. So if you've been long-term drinking for 10, 15, 20 more years, like that, your liver, if you don't already have cirrhosis and your liver counts are off, it's going to take some time for that to repair and to heal itself. And we've had conversation before about going overboard with the, I'm going to get fit and just stop drinking and all those things. You guys can go back and listen to one of our earlier episodes. Please, by all means, if this is your first time, go listen to the series. It hasn't been around that long. Lots of information out there. But so we don't get to, rim up and bank them for like bonus points later. Because I know that's the mindset of a lot of people is, I'm not going to drink for 30 days before vacation. Everybody does this, especially women. I'm not going to drink. I'm going on vacation. I want to look good in my bathing suit, yada, 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 all of this stuff. Because sure, women will use abstinence from alcohol as a way to lose weight. And actually men will as well. But when you go on that vacation and you even say, have 3 drinks, one, you're going to feel it. Two, that's still excessive,
Yep.
right? So, when we're talking about bringing consciousness into this, and I love that you said change the mindset, because that this is my complete passion altogether, because it's not for me to determine who needs to live in complete sobriety. It's not for me to determine who needs to, get real curious about investigating a sober lifestyle. It's not even up to me who maybe wants to just live a life of sober consciousness, which would be then that no more than one kind of thing, right? And choosing to not say, oh, I'm celebrating, let me make it that much better by having 10 drinks, because it doesn't make it any better. And that is, getting to this place of consciousness where we actually have the wherewithal of saying, what am I hoping to accomplish by having this drink? What is the emotional attachment or the need or that purpose that I am placing on? And we're talking alcohol here because I want everybody to know the statistics. However, binge eating also has some staggering statistics of what it will do to your body, and what the compensatory measures that we utilize afterwards, how that can totally destruct your body as well. I've heard plenty of stories. So anybody out there who is utilizing apple cider vinegar for gut health, proceed with caution, right? That stuff will fry your esophagus, kill your esophagus, right? Cause gastrial issues that you can't even fathom. It is painful. So, if we're utilizing it, utilize it in a quantity that is prescribed for the purpose that you are utilizing it for, because it does have beneficial properties for, say, immune health, gut health. But please don't drink it straight out of the bottle. I'm just saying.
Yes.
I see so many people that are like, oh, it tastes horrible, I'm just going to shoot it. I'm like, no. Put it in something, make an 8-ounce glass out of it or more. Like, you're still going to get the same, it dilutes, it doesn't work as well. Yes, it does. That's like saying, you need an extra pour in your, I don't know, whatever kind of mixed cocktail, because the other stuff they're putting in is diluting it. No, you don't need a stronger drink. It was put together in the measurements that make it like, here's your daily allowance. Here you go. Have this. So, we want to be conscious about our decisions and what those negative attachments are. Alcohol is very important because it's the season. Binge eating and compensatory measures. Again, we're getting ready to go on vacation. We all got to get bikini ready. What are we doing? What are we doing to our bodies before going off on these trips where we're going to binge? And what is our plan when we get back? How are we going to, right? And so we want to make sure that we're, making smart decisions that aren't going to have acute long-term ramifications on our systems. Yeah?
Yes, exactly. And I want to reiterate that point, because I've had so many patients and clients come and ask me, and they'll say, I'm going to a barbecue. Can I have a drink? And they're like, well, I haven't drank for 7 days. So that means I get to have 7. I'm like, no, that's not what that means. That means you may have 1 at the barbecue, or you may choose to not have any. But yes, it doesn't mean you get to add them up. You cannot add them up. You go off things for 30 days. You quit overindulging on your drinking. You quit overindulging on your eating for 30 days, and you go on vacation. That's great. Guess what you just did for yourself? You started a great habit by giving up some things that you weren't needing anyway. So start your vacation and find other activities you can enjoy. You don't need to bring that food back in. You don't need to bring that alcohol back in, because you've just given it up to look better on your vacation. So guess what? Look better, feel better on your vacation, and have a fresh start.
Yeah. Like, worked so hard. I worked so hard to get in a bikini. And I can think back. We took one, we've taken one cruise in our vacationing life. And I literally, by the end of it, had to buy new clothes to even leave the boat because I had gained so much weight on the trip. Like I was in the gift shop buying the drawstring shorts because it was hot where we were. And, you know, a couple sizes bigger than what I normally would have. It wasn't for fun, it was for functionality. And then when I came home, you know, then I had to do the work to get myself back to where I prefer to reside, you know. And of course I was a lot younger. So yes, there was a lot of indulgent eating, a lot of indulgent drinking. But that's hard on a body. It's not even healthy to have weight fluctuations like that.
Right. No, it's not. It's not healthy for your body to have that weight fluctuations, because what happens is your organs get moved around because of the change of your shape of your body, whether you know, the more fat or the different types of fat even, and your organs get shifted, and then you quickly lose weight or you quickly gain weight. Those have detrimental effects to your system, to your immune system, causes inflammation, causes a whole host of things. It affects your kidneys and your liver, your heart. And so those are tough. So the phrase is the slow and steady wins the race versus the quick sprint, right? And that I think that's true with most everything. And there's different speeds. So you don't have to be turtle slow, but there's different speeds so that you can do what's most appropriate for you, because you are your own unique individual. And
lifelong man.
Oh, you froze. So while she's frozen.
Nope. Okay, it was you. I didn't know if it was me or you.
You froze. I'm like, oh no, where'd you go?
It happens around midday sometimes. Anyway, I'm back.
Good. I was just saying, we want to come up with a plan that's unique to you, and being conscious, being sober conscious. And yes, some people may not be, it's not our choice to decide if you completely quit alcohol.
Unless you need a liver transplant or something like that, then
yeah, that could be, that might be something, if you're having to have serious hospitalizations, or you started developing health conditions and disease states, then you probably shouldn't be drinking.
Well, and we as professionals have the autonomy to say, I don't want, ethically, I need to recuse myself because it can't be a party to, right? Coddling or whatever it might be. Like if I have the knowledge that somebody is doing something that is detrimental to their health, and generally, yes, like if somebody has a slip or a relapse or whatever, it's like, depending upon what their journey is, it's like, okay, it's just part of the process, whatever. Like it's you can't undo it. You can't undo it. So you might as well keep looking forward and just move through. But when somebody is, say, at a severity level that they know that they're killing themselves and they're not, then, personally, I have to refer them to a higher level of care, and say, this as an online recovery coach, this isn't the level you need. Your severity level is higher. You need, something bigger. Can we bring on some other people? And I'll stick around until we get them settled. Sometimes though, they just disappear. Yeah. But if you can't show up for a session sober, we also can't see patients or clients in an intoxicated state unless they're in a hospital or, an appropriate facility. Exactly. And so there are times where no matter how supportive we are of your decisions, whether that's sober, conscious, curious lifestyle or just tried to hold on to your drinking and learning how to do it more effectively, right? Like maybe you want to go from 7 drinks in any sitting to 4, like that's a step, like, cool, we can get on board with that. But, we have to still, be protective of our own malpractice. Just saying, guys, like, but and it's also hard on us to watch people,
It is. It is. And let me tap in on that, because while we want to help you and you come in, your senses, your actions are not the same when you are intoxicated. Even a little bit intoxicated, you have more chance to fall down. You're not thinking clearly. You have a chance to say things that you may not mean or may not agree because
or remember.
There's lots of different things. And so it's for your safety and your protection that we don't treat you as an outpatient or as a client when you're intoxicated. We want to help you. Well, there's also limitations. And so you have to first start with number 1 and say, okay, yes, I want to do this and I'm committed to show up sober. Now,
you can't even have to sign anything.
Exactly.
Like you can't even sign anything or sign up, but which is, where I was with these potential or these prospects or these people that reached out to me for their help. I sent them links, and then I was like, I actually, had to kind of circumvent and say, we need to do this before you do that. Exactly. I can't have you signing up for an online recovery program when we're not able to arrive
exactly
or even get to say an 11 o'clock appointment without getting intoxicated beforehand. Like the severity level is higher than you're disclosing to me.
Yes.
And so, I can't even give you that self-assessment, because I utilize an assessment process, especially if I feel like there's, some things I need to know, right? But I can't even get you a handwritten document that you're going to go through and sign and email back to me if you're not present in a cognitive fashion.
Exactly.
And so, this is where we need to say, have people on our collaborative team where we can go, hey, we're going to bring in so-and-so. They're going to help you get stabilized, whether that's just detox meds, whether that's partial hospitalization, whether that's a full-on stay in detoxification, or you may need even, it may not be as much the detoxification as it is some of the other medical attention that you might need, right? Because if you're having other significant issues like pancreatitis, wow, that is uncomfortable and it's extremely painful and it can be all consuming mentally. So if the only thing that we're focused on is our physical health because it hurts so bad, we're not going to be able to do the cognitive work. So we need to get you with a provider that can stabilize the physical body, get it going in the right direction so that we can even sit comfortably in our own skin and then start doing, right?
Exactly. No, it's exactly true. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention this, because my specialty, is medicine and supplements. And alcohol interacts with all. It interacts with medications, it interacts with supplements, and it can make those medications work more proficient or less proficient in your body. It can make those supplements work more proficient or less proficient in your body. And so when you are drinking, whether it be one drink or binge drinking, there could be effects with your medications and alcohol. So there are some medications that, yes, alcohol doesn't have as big of an effect. And then there are some that you take the medication and alcohol together and you get deathly sick.
Insert our conversation about benzodiazepines.
Exactly. Exactly. So I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that because
no, and I love that you did, because it's also bringing, to mind some MAP type situations. That's, medication assisted. And so when we're talking about alcohol, and, because clearly we're talking about alcohol primarily today, and just, sprinkling in some other things to show people how you can add, edit, delete, and apply any of the things that we're telling you today to your own story. But some people can do really well with, say, a naltrexone pill to help with their cravings. And for anybody that's sober curious or sober conscious or wanting to be sober conscious, naltrexone, taking a tab, it can be extremely effective. I'm more than happy to sit and chat with you about those options. Melissa, I'm sure is also, but so there's this really cool method that you can utilize where you can really start to change the way that your brain responds to alcohol, in that it will reduce your desire to have more than one, and still be just as happy and satisfied in your life. But for you heavier drinkers who are really having a hard time, especially with post-acute withdrawal, because I have a handful of people right now that are just truly in a state of not embracing the fact that post-acute withdrawal is a real thing, and it lasts and appears in cycles that don't always look the same for everybody, for or up to 2 years in recovery. So, and of course, every time that we decide that we want to drink or go into a full-blown, whatever you want to call, relapse, that resets that clock and that timer. And so people just have a hard time grasping and embracing that. In fact, I was in one of those rooms today, and the question was, I'm 7 days sober. How am I going to get a grasp of, or how am I going to get past these post-acute withdrawal symptoms? My response was, your first step is to embrace the fact that this is going to be around for a couple of years. Because once you can, it's going to increase your probability of success. And, and then the second part is really embracing and internalizing the definition thereof, because people will give me all the reasons why it's not post-acute withdrawal that they're experiencing. It's because of A, B, or C that happened outside of me. And I have to pull out examples of how that very same or very similar situation happened the week before and it didn't phase you. Why is it bugging you today? To get them to see that it is post-acute withdrawal, and it's not the fact that, the boss, made you the patsy of a meeting or whatever. Like, that happens all the time. That's your boss's demeanor. This, you've worked there for 15 years or whatever, right? So that was the topic this week in one of my sessions. So it just happened to fly out. Anyway, so, we have to embrace that. And wow, okay, I lost myself in my own thought. That happens. But, there's ways that we can, for these heavier drinkers, because I stopped at the naltrexone, Vivitrol. And I know everybody's going, what? Vivitrol? And actually maybe not, because this isn't something new. It's not a new concept, but a lot of people don't get it offered to them that are heavy drinkers. Vivitrol is generally used for high severity opiate addiction. And it's just a shot that you get once a month. But I have had so much success with my heavy drinkers that are really struggling with getting any significant period of time, getting them the Vivitrol shot with the concept of, we're going to do this for 6 months and then we're going to start the weaning process, right? And that might look like, we're going to go 6 weeks in between. We're going to go 8 weeks in between. We're going to then go, 10 weeks in between. And then when we can go 12 weeks, we're probably fine without it.
Right.
That safety net of having one in the fridge at the doctor's office so that, it's there in case, the post-acute withdrawal or something bad happens in your life, God forbid somebody dies in a tragic accident or whatever, and you don't feel it quick. Because, the first 12 months of recovery it's critical. We got to get through our first everything. But, so there's so many different options. Now, I mean, if you are just somebody that, was like, how in the world am I ever going to go out with my friends on the weekend and enjoy and have fun only having one cocktail? Well, one, maybe take a look at your social circle, and two, maybe invite them along on the journey. Right?
Yep.
And if it's social anxiety, let's talk about that. In fact, I don't know if you saw this, Melissa, but in the Over 40 Fearless and Free Women's group, I put it in as an event, but I had been in conversations with some ladies about social anxiety and what they rely on in those situations. And my question was, do you become a wallflower? Do you visit the buffet a lot? Do you, nervously munch on the chips or the nuts that are on the table? Do you overdrink? Do you overshare? Do you, what is it that that happens to you in these situations? And so we started having these things. Anyway, I'm having a impromptu. It's not really an event. I'm not live streaming it to the group or anything, but I have set a Zoom page to that. And I believe I set it for next Tuesday evening at 4:00 Pacific time. So anyway, sorry, we can talk about that later, but it's there because there are so many different reasons why we overdrink. And if it's social anxiety, let's talk about it. Let's look at where it stems from. Why is it happening? And really look at that way that we can restructure that or just embrace it. It could be that it might just be certain types of events. It might not be every situation. And so sometimes, we have to pick and choose. But then there was another thing that I wanted to touch on. And so we're going to rewind again a little bit, guys. But you were talking about the socioeconomic statuses and where binge drinking falls. And to me, I think it makes complete sense that people with less money binge drink less because, they can't afford per se to go out as frequently and binge drink. So these folks, they plan for it, right? Like I know when I was a single mother and I was young, and so my girlfriends and I, we always planned 1 to 2 trips a year to Laughlin. Nothing glamorous about it. It wasn't Vegas, it was Laughlin, but we would go and we'd have fun. And I would bring I'd have to save to bring $20 per night, right? That's back in the days when you could, sit at the counter and do the quarter slots and get free drinks, right? That was me playing my quarter slots real slow, drinking real fast, right? Making back the 20s, and then, banking them away. But, so we don't have as many opportunities to binge drink. Now that doesn't make those situations any less. It probably makes them even worse. But when we're looking at, the business professionals who, and I work with a lot of them, and, a lot of it gets written off as this is part of my, this is part of my work. This is part of what I do. And so they go to the dinners that are 7 courses long, and there's the waiter that circles the table like a hawk, and you're not even paying attention because you're having conversation, but your glass is seemingly never empty. So you have zero idea how many you've had, even if you're trying to be conscious about not getting overly intoxicated. I can't tell you how many people that I've said that to, they're like, oh my God, you're so right. Right. Because they're like, I wondered that, I wondered how that happened. Like, I felt like I was eating and, all the things. And next thing I know, like I'm go to stand up to go to the bathroom and I'm like, whoa. Right. And the other thing is you're just distracted, right? You're having conversation. There's things going on. There may be presentations there, whatever it is. And then there's the wine changing. And then there's the dessert cocktails. Oh, and we can't forget the reception ones at the beginning, right? Which generally start with something a little bit heavier than the wine, depending upon who you are. And so something that, I've been making suggestions to some of, the entrepreneurs that I consult with, is giving people options in those types of settings. Because when we go there, what are our options? Still or sparkling water or alcohol. So I'm suggesting to them, like, that's it. It's like, oh, I can have water or I can have alcohol. And I personally, love water, and I've learned to get really creative with sparkling water because, especially if they have like a signature drink around, then they probably got fruit to muddle into your sparkling water. So get creative with it. Ask the bartender if they've got mint leaves or, lime or whatever to make it pretty. But I've been really suggesting that, that there are amazing virgin cocktail options. I mean, all over Instagram, and maybe y'all don't see it, but I do, but it's probably because of what I follow and what I'm interested in. But I mean, you have 0 proof whiskey now. You can get 0 proof rosé. Just saw that one. I was surprised at that one because that's a tough one to get a wine. I haven't tried it yet, but to get a wine that tastes like wine and not fruit juice, right? Like not grape juice, or apple juice, like the Martinellis.
Yeah.
So, I haven't tried that one yet. I don't know if I will or I won't, but, sometimes I like to try them. But there's a lot of different elixirs that are in brew fashion that are made with herbs, right? Hops and herbs, but they're 0 proof. And let me tell you, some of them are just absolutely amazing. One I tried that had elderberry. I wasn't even sure that it wasn't alcohol, but it wasn't. I mean, I checked it out. It wasn't. But, so anyway, making those suggestions, those recommendations at your work, at your place of business, like, hey, when we have these functions, can we have other options that are fun? Because then you don't have the secretary who only drinks that one time a year because she has so much social anxiety and feels like she needs to fit in. Right? That one person who's like, I only drink at this event. This is the only event it's usually the holiday party.
Yeah.
Other options.
Absolutely. I love that. And I saw a commercial actually just the other day, and they had it in an office setting. That wasn't really the theme behind it, but it was a 0 alcohol beer that they were advertising, making it like it doesn't matter because the office was there. That wasn't the point of it. But the point is that, yes, there's other options, and you can go and ask for 0 alcohol. Most of your restaurants now are carrying at least one option, or you can, they can definitely do a virgin cocktail. They can do that cocktail without alcohol. No problem.
Yes, but you have to be careful then, because when they're busy and you ask for a virgin, sometimes you can get served. It's happened to me. And that doesn't freak me out or anything like that. But, it could for somebody else. But I do think that establishments, could up their game with that, because I think you just even look at somebody in a date situation or a function or a get together at a bar, a restaurant, or whatever, and you throw in that social anxiety and they don't want to look like they're not drinking or, whatever it is. And the placebo effect, it works anyway. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Plus the amount of sugar in it. I mean, you might need a sugar detox after, but which is no fun either. Just saying.
Yeah.
Sugar detox is not a fun thing to go through. But So I think as a society, anybody that's listening, look for ideas, like when you're having your 4th of July parties, your barbecues, right? I generally will order a case. I haven't yet, and I'm glad I'm reminding, but I'll usually order myself a case of something fun for me, but also to have available for other people who may want to switch. Or, there are people that will literally open up beer, which is expensive, will open up beer and let it sit there. I don't know how many of them I throw out that get warm, because they didn't really want it anyway, but they didn't want to be sitting there drinking water anyway. But, so in all of our functions, we need to think about that. Like, how can I offer more options? And make sure everybody feels comfortable and invited, because if the only thing you're going to offer me is water, I don't feel very invited.
Right. That's true. I always ask for iced tea.
Fundraisers.
They don't offer. I just ask.
Right. Well, but a lot of them don't even have iced tea. You go to a lot of the, fundraisers, like for school, right? For high schools, and it's beer, wine, maybe a mixed cocktail that they'll offer, and then water and coffee. And the water is always the lowest budget bottle, plastic bottle of whatever, and they don't even display it prevalently. Or it's tap water on the table, and I'm like, So I get coffee and a coffee pot that just reminds me of nothing more than either an AA meeting or church. Man, the coffee at my church was bad when I was growing up. It was old, anyway.
Those are bad memories that they trigger.
Don't serve me coffee. I'm not, I want something fun too. I just don't want it to have alcohol in it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So if you're an event planner and listening, pay attention. Have some non-alcoholic options that are fun.
Right. So, okay. So in the spirit of recap, because here we are, you and I could probably talk, for a half a day. In the spirit of recap, 1 drink a day for women, 2 drinks a day for men, but also coin in your head that might be what that might be in this space have been stated as being safe for you. However, long term, year over year, daily drinking is going to be significant impacts on your life physically. Not to mention the fact that, addiction's a sneaky creature. And so that one is never going to be enough for very long term anyway, unless you're doing it from a place of consciousness and desire, then it will go a real long way. But also know your definitions of addiction, right? There are set criteria that we base it on. I'm not going to go into it. If you want to know if you fall into that category, I don't like labels, but look, if you are drinking daily, 6-7 days a week, you got an issue, you have a negative attachment, it needs to be looked at the why. Doesn't mean you have to, do anything but a few little shifts, right? We can shift and change things up cognitively, but there's an issue if you need to have a glass of wine every day. And so there's that. Knowing the definition of an addiction, because I will say anybody that has to go to the gym 3 hours a day, 6 days a week, or they have major meltdown, there's an issue. There's an emotional, mental health issue there. That's not to say that you have to give it up, but if your day gets derailed, and we've had this conversation too, if you are in a piss poor mood all day, irritated, agitated, annoyed, frustrated, and your internal dialogue goes to, oh my God, I'm so fat, I didn't work out today. There's a problem. It needs to just be a lifestyle. And if that lifestyle happens to be, I exercise every day, yay. But it gets to be bendable, flexible, pliable. And, if something happens and you can't make it, you're sick for a week, you're not gonna, be completely derailed from a mental health standpoint. So, let's step into some consciousness about our habits, our behaviors, the processes that we tell ourselves we must have. Let's take a look at I will win traps. And I'm going to have a lot of content on that next month. And I get it. It's only the 16th, but I've just been feverishly, writing and creating and, putting together really good stuff for you guys to help you, start to think outside the box. Everything doesn't mean that you have to go check yourself into, to a facility. You have lots of options. So, broaden your perspective. Take a look at those things that are ruling your life instead of you being the driver. And, truly look at, if I'm saying I will win, ... the kids go back to school, vacation's over, ask yourself why. Why not now? Because if not now, why? And if not now, when? And so it's this big vicious cycle that we put ourselves in. And I'm not trying to, say, hey, no better time than now, come join, sign up. Absolutely. If that's what you want to do, I'm here. I'm not going to chase anybody. I'm not going to chase you. I'm not going to hunt you down. I'm not going to cram it down your throat. When you're ready, you'll come. But I want you to start asking yourself the same questions that I would ask you if you were showing up in a space. And that is to know your why, right? Why, even if the why is followed with a not, why not? Why not now? How do I want it to look? How do I want to see myself? How do I want my environment to be experiencing me?
Right. And I have to, because this goes with my message, is that when you do have that win and the why not, we're not promised tomorrow. So you need to know your why now. Have you done everything in your power? If that's on your to-do list, have you done everything in your power that if you die in a car crash when you go to the store this afternoon or tomorrow, whatever it is, and I don't mean to be graphic, but are you ready right now? Have you done everything? And yes, why not right now?
Right. Well, when you go out, how do you want to go out?
Exactly.
Right. Do that was a big question for me. That was a big determining factor. And in fact, I remember laying in my bed saying, I don't want to go out this way. And that's not to say that I felt like I was on my deathbed, because I didn't. I felt like if I didn't make a change that I, was going to end up there eventually, whether that was a year, 5 years, or 10 years was completely up to me if I kept going. Right. And I was like, I'm not going out this way. Like, I can't go out this way for my own personal pride. I can't go out this way for my, my husband, but I certainly can't do that to my kids or my grandchildren, because, and not to disparage, my family in any way, shape, or form, but, a lot of the memories that I have of my grandmother is her being sick, even though, she quit drinking when I was really young. Actually, I don't even think I was born yet. I think she quit drinking before I was born, if my mother's stories serve me properly. But so if she did, but the stories were all circled around her being sick a lot, and my mom always having to go take care of her for fear that, this time was it. And the damage was done, and they just kept taking away pieces of her liver. And then she kept going into coma, like she lived that cycle for 18 and a half years. 18 and a half years. And I was like, I can't go out that way. Like, I just can't. And so am I grateful to my grandmother for leading by that example? Absolutely. Because without her having led by that example, I wouldn't have been able to go, I'm not doing that. Right. Let me do it different. Right. And so anyway, I digress. In that, you guys, I'm going to be dropping in a free gift into the comments when I put my contact information in there. And I just want you to know that it's going to be there. Take advantage of it. I don't go overboard with giving my time freely. And so, take a look at it, and make use of it, if nothing else, so that I can help you determine your win. Because I determined my win, right? I said, I'm not going out this way, but that was in November. I didn't determine my win until March. I said, this is my win, and it's March, right? Now, I don't recommend that, because I did have my last hurrah. In my form, right? Like in my way, which, wasn't, a bunch of binge drinking that had me laying in my own vomit. Not even close, but, it was just something that I planned, it was a plan. And so I went through the holidays, and then I started seeking where I wanted to, what place spoke to me. And then once I determined what place spoke to me, then I started developing relationships with the people there, because I'm like, I got to know, trust, like you before I come, and right. So that's the nature of my gift. Come spend a little bit of time with me, get to know, trust, like me, and let me help you with your win, regardless of what your goal is. Again, whether it's sugar, alcohol, shopping, people pleasing, codependency, feeling completely, bound by a habit that has to do with exercise or whatever, workaholism. It doesn't matter to me what it is. If there's if there's a habit or an addiction or something that is holding you hostage, and you just haven't decided your when you want to do it, I'm here to help you at least determine your why and your when, and we can figure it out from there, whether it's with me or not with me. So anyway, Melissa, say your farewells. Do you have anything that you would like to depart with?
My final thoughts for today would be kind of tapping into that. Know your why. Speak up. Have your voice be heard. Don't be shut in the corner. I know that from personal experience, I let my voice be shut down, and that actually caused physical damage. So let your voice be heard. Make the decision, whether that's today, to make the call to talk to Tricia, make the call to talk to me, whatever it happens to be. We work together because there's pieces that overlap.
Yes.
So just remember, it's all about you, and it's your health. So you're worth it. Make the choice today.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for being here. Everybody, if anything that we said here, touched you or touched the lives, brought to mind the lives of another for you, like, comment, share, pass it on. It will be uploaded on YouTube tomorrow. Usually I get it out within 24 hours on YouTube. So, set a reminder. There's an episode on a topic of something every week. So, set a reminder to tune in on Wednesdays at noon. And if it's not Wednesdays at noon that you can do it, set a timer and say, I don't know, after work on Wednesdays, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna listen to the episode, or, whatever it is. Set a reminder so that you can listen in. And if it's not a topic that, resonates with you, it might be one that resonates with somebody else. So, sharing this and passing it along is a way that we can give back to our community, our loved ones, our environments, our social circles. So anyway, signing off. We will see you next week.